MongoDB's schemaless design is one of its key features, but it also presents some unique challenges for developers. MongoDB is a document-based NoSQL database, which means that it does not use tables and rows like traditional relational databases. Instead, MongoDB uses collections and documents. A collection is a group of documents, and a document is a set of key-value pairs. When designing a schema for MongoDB, it is important to consider the following best practices. Denormalize data. Unlike relational databases, MongoDB does not support joins, so it is important to design the schema in a way that avoids the need for joins. This means denormalizing the data and embedding related data within documents. Use embedded documents. Use embedded documents to represent related data. Embedding related data within documents can improve performance by reducing the number of database queries needed to retrieve data. Avoid nested documents. Avoid using deeply nested documents, as they can make querying and updating data more difficult. Try to keep documents shallow and use references when necessary. Use array fields. Use array fields to store lists of related data. This can simplify the schema and make it easier to query data. Use appropriate data types. Use appropriate data types for each field to ensure data consistency and avoid issues with data validation. For example, use date data types for date fields and numeric data types for numeric fields. Consider data access patterns. Consider the access patterns for the data when designing the schema. This can help determine the best way to structure the data and optimize queries. Plan for growth. Plan for future growth by designing the schema to scale with the data. This means avoiding hard limits on data size and using shard keys to distribute data across multiple servers. Use a consistent naming convention. Use a consistent naming convention for collections and fields to make it easier to understand the schema and query the data. Avoid using reserved words or special characters in field names. Use indexes. Use indexes to improve query performance by reducing the amount of data that needs to be scanned. Create indexes on fields that are frequently queried or used for sorting. Balance data distribution. Balance data distribution across shards to ensure that data is evenly distributed and queries are evenly distributed across the cluster. Use the aggregation pipeline. Use the aggregation pipeline to perform complex queries and data transformations. The aggregation pipeline allows you to combine multiple stages to process and manipulate data. Consider atomicity and consistency. Consider the atomicity and consistency requirements for the data when designing the schema. MongoDB provides support for atomic operations and transactions to ensure that data is consistent and reliable. By following these best practices, you can design a schema for MongoDB that is efficient, scalable, and easy to use.